He's a Wisden Cricketer of the Century and the 2004 leading cricketer in the world. He's without doubt one of the world's great bowlers, star of the Australian team, captain of the one-day team. If brilliant describes his life on the cricket pitch, his life off it could only be described as colourful. He's now a commentator extraordinaire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shane Warne. Shane, what do you talk about when you catch up with Gatting?
Good evening, everyone. Well done. Thank you very much for coming. Basically, you missed a straight one. That's basically about it, really. But just the first ball in my Ashes series, it was pretty special. I remember sitting on the plane with Merv Hughes on the plane, and I said to him, "What's an Ashes series actually like?" I remember as a kid growing up and watching the Chappell brothers in Australia versus England. And it was always something special. And I was expecting these wonderful answers, this spine-tingling stuff from Merv. And he said, put it this way, England are shit. We're sponsored by a beer company and there's rest day, so it's a great tour. And I said, so that should be a pretty good series. But so we get to England, we land, we do all that sort of stuff, and we get to the first tour game, which was against Worcestershire, and there's a guy called Graham Hick who was playing. And Alan Border pulled me aside and he said, look, they've got this guy called Graham Hick who's a terrific player. He's going to be playing a big part in the Ashes series, so make sure that you don't bowl anything to him, just leg breaks. Don't bowl anything else, no flippers or wrong-uns or anything like, just leg breaks. And I sort of said, well, should be fucking good enough anyway. But he made 206, hit 13 sixes off my bowling, and my tour was off to a wonderful start. We get to the first test match. I managed to get us selected into the side. The toss goes up on the first day and England win the toss and take that aggressive move to bowl first again. Mark Taylor makes a good 100. Overnight we're about 6 for 230 or 240. Mark Taylor made a great 100. So the next day I thought, well, I'm going to bat for the first time in an Ashes series, then I'm going to have to bowl later in the day. So let's have a nice early night. So Merv grabbed me and said, look, I know it's a big day for you tomorrow, let's just have a couple of beers at the bar. So about 2 or 3 o'clock, I was, after smoking like a green log, had a couple. I managed to get to sleep for the big day the next day, my first ever Ashes day. I get to the ground, a wicket falls, I go out to bat, I run Craig McDermott out second ball. We lose a couple of wickets, end of the innings. We go out to bowl, and Mike Atherton and Graham Gooch got off to a great start. And just before the lunch break, Alan Border said to me, next over that end. So I went, shit, okay. So I start to loosen up. Merv Hughes knocks over Mike Atherton, Gatting comes out, so we have the lunch break. I'm sitting in the lunchroom and I'm thinking, God, I'm going to have to bowl after lunch. Dickie Bird, the umpires knock on the door, come on, we're on the way. We go out there, Alan Border says, rightio, you're up, straight away. Shit, rightio. So I mark my run up out. I look down there, Mike Gatting's on strike. I look at my field, it's pretty good. Graham Gooch is at the non-striker's end. He's just staring at me the whole time. And I sort of just get a bit awkward. So I tell him in Australia, hello. I look down, ready at the top of my mark. Dickie Bird says play. Stand there, take a breath. Merv, I got my mate Merv here at mid-off. I take a step, and next minute I hear this. I said, what? He said, bowl one of those flipper things first up. They won't be expecting that. Take another step. What? Wrongin'. I said, mate, I can knock you over wrongin', but no one else. Just relax. Alan Border's at short cover. He says, is there any danger? I said, sorry, Skip, I'm just a little bit nervous. He said, well, hurry up, get on with it. Take a step, sure enough, Merv. Bowl one of those big turning leg breaks. I said, mate, I just want to land it. He said, take a step, I'm away. Bowl the ball, comes down, curves a little bit in the air. Mike Gatting sort of follows the drift. If it had been food, he wouldn't have missed it, but he misses it. Hits the top of off stump. Ian Healy was down here somewhere at leg side, so luckily it hit the stumps. And my first ball, I've just knocked over Mike Gadding with this pretty good leg break. We all run in. Merv comes in, sticks his tongue in my ear and said, told you, one of those big leg breaks. Thanks, Merv. So I finished the over. Now, at the end of the over, I was just starting to get my jumper. I got my cap off Dickie Bird, and I started to walk down to fine leg. Now, about halfway down, I'm starting to resemble David Hasselhoff from Baywatch. As I get a little bit closer to the boundary, I'm starting to look like Pamela Anderson. I'm that pumped with the ball I've just bowled. And as I get to the boundary, there's some guy at the back of the stands just says, "Hey, Warne, you prick. I paid 50 quid to watch Mike Gadding bat." And that was my first ball in England, so it was a good way to start it. Yeah.
I know that, you've been so popular in the media over so many years, not just in your playing days, but beyond. And
Popular?
I'm trying to be nice.
Okay, thank you.
We're trying to impress the crowd.
Right, okay, yes, popular is a good word.
But we heard the three guys up here from Backtrack a little earlier talking about, that one person that comes into your life and changes the path that you're on. When you were a kid, and you talk about watching the Ashes series when you were a kid and just being impressed and it was bigger and greater and absolutely awesome, was there one person or two people in your life that showed you a door that you can either walk through this or you can go the other way, it's up to you, and it changed your life?
I had many, I suppose, forks in the road or crossroads in my life. My father and my family were always, my father's sort of my hero. He was the one that always sort of guided my mum and my family, always terrific in their upbringing. They supported us. We think back to all of us that played sport, or even as a kid, the time that you spent, and now as a parent, I know how long those the netball runs or the football runs or the cricket, the school runs and all those types of things on weekends, you give up as a parent. So to my parents, I suppose, were the biggest influence on me from that sort of that growing up as a kid. But as you get older and you start to play a different, you start to get a little bit better at different sports, and you've got to make a decision whether it's football or cricket. In my case, I always wanted to be an AFL footballer, but I just wasn't good enough. So I'm not disrespecting cricket in any way, but cricket sort of found me, and I developed a passion for it. I was lucky enough that people took an interest in me, ranging from Ian Chappell, who I met when I was at the academy, to guys like Terry Jenner, Rod Marsh. There was a lot of guys that really helped me through my career at the start, and probably Terry Jenner was the biggest impact on my leg spin bowling, and Ian Chappell was probably, I learnt the most about the game of cricket, speaking to him. But Terry Jenner, I suppose, taught me, I knew how to bowl a leg break, I knew how to bowl a wrong, and I knew how to bowl a flipper. But I spent hours and hours in Adelaide at the academy learning what, when and why, what to bowl, when to bowl it, and why do you bowl it, and understanding the art of leg spin and how to set batsmen up and have a plan. And Terry introduced me to that style of thinking. And then for me, I learned a lot myself, in combination with a lot of different people I spoke to. But I suppose just on my pure leg spin bowling, I think Terry Jenner probably had the biggest influence on my bowling, yeah.
And how many friends do you still have from the team?
How many what, sorry?
How many friends do you still have from the team?
From the team? I was a lot closer, I think, when I first started with the guys that I played with, than near the end. I was very lucky. I got in the state squad in, I think, 88 or 89. And so I was lucky enough to see the changes of sort of old school to people thinking they're part of the furniture with a lot of the younger guys. I'm still good friends with a few of the guys I played with at the end, but more the Alan Borders and the Mark Wars, those type of guys, Darren Lehman. I'm good friends with all those guys from the team. And I think no matter who you played with, you have a special sort of relationship with guys that you played with and travelled with. When you live in each other's pockets for 9 months of the year, you can get on each other's nerves a bit. So, whenever you catch up, it's always nice you have that bond, I think, when you play sport. And that's what's beautiful about a team sport. You're just enjoying other people's success, getting to know a lot of people. Team sport's the best thing for kids, whether it be netball, cricket, football, rugby, whatever the sport is. If kids can get involved in sport early, I think it really does help you it just helps you grow up. It helps you understand how things work. And I think there's a lot of advantages for a team sport.
So the bit you say there are some parts of you that people would really love. Like what?
Well, come on, why don't you try and tell me if there's one or two? What do you think they're good about me? You know me well enough. What do you think there is?
No, I don't think I do. And I'm here to ask you the questions, not give you the answers.
I'm loyal. I'm a very good parent. I think all of us make mistakes through life, and that's what sort of shapes who we are. I don't live with any regrets. Because I don't think you can change that. No matter what happened yesterday, what happened 10 years ago, what happened 20 years ago. I think I was 21 or 22 when I started playing cricket for Australia. I had no idea really about the big bad world out there. I learnt the hard way in a lot of things. But I think some of the things that I've been brought up with, whether it be manners, like simple things like manners are free, saying please and thank you. I've tried to instill that into my children. I always thought cricket to me was a hobby. It was something I loved doing and I was passionate about. My job was to try and be the best parent I could. Now, I mightn't have been the best husband at times, but as far as a parent goes, I've instilled some great values into my children. We've got a great relationship. They're my number one priority no matter what. So I think that's one of my proudest things, that I'm a very good father and I love being a father. Thank you. I think all of us as parents, it's bloody hard work. It's not easy being a parent, especially a mother, being a mum with all the issues that the kids have. My kids now are turning 21, 19, 17. So when they're little, it's okay. There's little problems, but when they get bigger, you sort of have bigger problems. But I love being a parent. It's tricky, it's not easy, but helping shape your children, they're a product of their environment. And if you can instill those good values with your kids, then hopefully that holds you in good stead. And so that's one of my better traits.
Yeah, and I'd agree with all of that.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
So you talk about some of the other sides, the other times that you've had or experiences you've had or the ramifications that have come from what you've done. And that is obviously the side that people would not want to be in. But can you explain what it's like when things get like that? When you're plastered all over, not the back page, but all over the front page? I mean, does it feel like, I don't want to get up this morning and walk out the door because I don't want it to happen again? What is it? How do you cope with that?
Well, first of all, it's difficult. Unfortunately, through my life, I haven't thought about the consequences sometimes. Sounds good at the time and you just do it, and then you go, shit, the next day, what the hell happened? I've never done drugs, so it's nothing like that. I've never touched drugs in my life, but sometimes the alcohol would make some bad decisions. Living that is very difficult. It's very hard to face it. I think the only way you can be, and I think why most people still like me, is I've always been honest. I've taken responsibility for my actions, and if I've always come out and said, I'm sorry, I'll try and learn by it, and most of the times I have. But, I think being real, being honest, I think is really important, even if you do make mistakes and stuff up. I think there's too many people that try and cover things up and you keep lying about things, it just gets worse and worse. And then people start to rewrite history. I think if you're honest, own it, take responsibility for your actions, I think people can understand that you make mistakes, but they respect that. And that's that thing about respect versus liked. I think being respected is so much more important than being liked. And that's some of the things you tell young kids in the teams these days playing sport. It's always great to be Mr. Popular, but the only way you earn respect in that group is the way you conduct yourself, how you put yourself out for others. Can you pass on your knowledge to people? Are you genuinely happy for other people in your team? And all those things. And I think anyone that I played with, or any team I played with, I think I've earned that respect. And I think if you hear people speak about, what was it like to play with Shane Warne, most people would say it was great. He helped me, inspired me, those types of things. So, yeah, look, it's difficult at times, as I said, but if you're honest and own it, then you can't do much more than that.
I think it's fascinating when you talk about respect and playing the game and giving respect, showing respect and earning that respect. Again, the same word that we heard from Zach and Phil and Cindy. But have you ever thought about what sort of person you would be or what you would have done if cricket hadn't have found you?
Well, I was delivering beds for 40 winks in blue shorts and boots and driving trucks, so I probably would still be doing that. I was very, very lucky. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to play cricket for Australia. I played in a wonderful era of Australian cricket and with some great players, and we had a lot of fun. And I think people say to you, what do you miss? Do you miss playing? I think if you ask most cricketers that played for a long period of time, it's not so much you miss playing. You miss the competing, and that's pretty hard to replace. But you miss the camaraderie, the silly stuff that goes on in a dressing room, the fun times, or just sitting around talking. And I remember many nights here at the Sydney Cricket Ground, sitting in the dressing room and talking with the guys, and just not leaving the change rooms till 2, 3 in the morning. You make friendships that last a long period of time, and as I said before, whenever you catch up with guys that you played with, there's this little bond, and it just makes you smile. And I look back at my career and go, we achieved some wonderful things. We won World Cups, we won Ashes series, we beat every team home and away, and along the way I had a fair bit of success as well. So that's more than I ever thought would happen. As a guy that wanted to play AFL football, making signet rings in a factory at a jewellery shop, driving trucks for 40 winks, it ended up okay. So as I said, I'm very, very grateful for my lot. What would have happened, as I said before, I don't really think about the past. Someone asked me before, are you disappointed you never captained Australia? I'm not. I was lucky enough to play under some terrific captains for Australia. Well, my first ever captain, Alan Border, was what he instilled into me, and I think a lot of their players through that late 80s and early 90s period went on to become pretty good players for Australia. So he was great, but I think the best captain I played under was Mark Taylor. I thought Mark Taylor's communication that he had between himself and the players, he made you take responsibility, he let you sort of set your fields. I just thought he played the game in a way that was always trying to win. There's a lot of times, he'd always take that aggressive option and bat first. He would declare, wouldn't set these big 400-500s targets. He was always trying to win. And I think what people sometimes misunderstand is that by setting those big targets where you can't really lose, you're not actually teaching your team how to win. And when the game's in the balance, that's how you learn how to win. Whether you're defending a target, you're trying to knock a team over, or you have to chase a target. The more times you get in those situations, the more times you'll, in the end, win. But you've got to learn how to win. Some teams, they don't learn how to win because the captain sets 500 in 100 overs and you're not going to lose. And how often do we see teams 7, 8 down, 8 down, 9 down? Oh, if we had it declared earlier. So I think Mark Taylor always challenged us in that way, which made us better cricketers because we learned how to win. And then whenever we got in a situation where the game was in the balance, we would crush the opposition because we would just go out there and win and blow them away. So I think his communication with his attacking brand of cricket, he read the game well, he understood his players. So I think for him, it was great to play under Mark Taylor.
We know that cricket holds such a special place in the culture of Australia. How do you think the current team got into its current predicament? And where do you see the future of the game? Where do you see the strengths and probably some of the issues that need to be ironed out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think most of us in this room, I would say, would love Test cricket. I believe Test cricket is the hardest form of the game at the moment. Well, it always is and always will be because it's a real test. 5 days, the best side will always win. 2020 one-day cricket, necessarily the best side won't always win. Doesn't mean it's less entertaining or it's great fun, and I think we need those forms of the game for the game of cricket. But Test cricket is the ultimate. And for me, I'd go a little bit radical with Test cricket because I want it to stay here forever. And I think if we had our head in the sand about Test cricket, about where it's going to be, I think it's going to go. It'll just disappear slowly, and that'll be so disappointing for Test cricket to disappear. In the days of society, everyone's busy, everyone's got places to be, everyone's rushing around. So that fast food sort of 2020 stuff, which is great fun and entertaining, it comes and goes. Where Test cricket, that that proper meal that you want, the drama and everything that a test match has, we all love. So what do we do to keep it? One, I reckon we should be marketing it properly. I don't think we market it well enough, and I don't think people understand what's involved in Test cricket. So I'd be getting the best players in the world to say, this is the reasons why I love Test cricket, and do some big campaign, push Test cricket huge across the world. And the other thing I would do is I'd actually make entrance free to Test cricket. I don't think you should charge for Test cricket, because I think Test cricket is a TV sport. I think we're getting these huge numbers of over $1 billion for TV rights. And I understand that money through the gate makes a fair bit of money. But if you work it out, it's about $1 million a day for Test cricket. So over the course of a summer, it's somewhere around $35, $40 million, which is a hell of a lot of money. But with the TV rights over $1 billion, into the whole significant scheme of things, when you throw in sponsors and everything else, and the money that Test cricket makes, there's over 1 million people watching it on TV every day. So it is a TV sport, but you still want to turn the TV on and see people at the ground. So for me, I would say that people out there, dollars are tight for people. It costs a lot of money to go to sporting events. I think if we want Test cricket to survive, we market it properly, we make it free entry, we're making the money elsewhere, and that way when we turn the TV on, there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of people there, and they get to understand and love the game of Test cricket. And I think that'll help it survive for a long period of time. The other thing that we want to see, no matter what form of the game, we want to see a contest between bat and ball. I think the concern, you asked me about the concerns, I think the pitches that the guys play on is a concern as well. You know, these days when we watch why is the Adelaide Test match the most popular Test match through the summer under lights, it's not just because it's under lights, because the ball does something. It swings around, it nips around, and it's hard work, so batsmen's techniques get exposed if they're not good enough. So, nothing's really happened to the ball for a long period of time. Why can't we weight one side of the ball or do something with the ball? You look at all the other sports. In golf, the ball goes further. In all these different sports, the technology is there, but our cricket ball stays the same. Why can't we? Remember the tape tennis ball we used to play down the driveway and it swung and it was really hard? Why can't we weight one side of the ball that it means it swings all day? If you could weight one side of the ball, it means there'd always be a contest between bat and ball.
That you're here, Shane.
No,
but that role with the IPL,
yep.
And being involved in a team in that capacity, because I know it doesn't matter where you go around the world and you do commentary for many broadcasters around the world, what people love about it is the passion that you bring to the commentary. It was the same passion you had when you played. What about coaching? Is it as easy to instill that sort of passion in a team and get results, see that you're making a difference? Yeah,
it's an interesting thing, the coaching side of things. I think, with junior coaches, when I think coaching, I think, when my boy was little, about getting your front arm up and your front elbow up and those types of things. I think when you're around an international team or something like the IPL, my role was team mentor, was actually helping the guys more or less think about the game, strategy, mindset, that sort of stuff. Because I think when you get to that level or international level, there's nothing wrong with your techniques. You haven't got there if you weren't any good. So sometimes people forget just that they are actually a good player. And it becomes about the way you think about the game, the attitude that you have. And when you do have a few failures, whether it be with the bat or the ball, people start to get negative. And that's when they start to get too technical, in my opinion. If a bowler's not bowling well, suddenly you have a bowling coach talking about the front arm and you're talking about your follow-through and all this sort of rubbish. They forget about how they're trying to get the batsman out. As a bowler, all you need to think about is how am I getting the batsman out? And then naturally, you'll bowl the ball wherever it needs to be. Batting-wise, it's pretty simple. If you have that intent and you're busy and watch the ball, it's as simple as that, then you're going to go okay. So it's all about, I believe, at top-level sport, even in business, it's all about the way you think. And for me, my roles in the teams that I've had, I've always tried to teach the guys about the way they think and bring an energy to the group and an energy to the players that try to make them believe, help them try and believe. And it's hard sometimes when you're not playing, because you sometimes like to grab the ball and try and say, rightio guys, come on, let's do this. But you can't do that, so you've got to try and instill some sort of belief into them. And I think what one of the beauties of the IPL is some of the people you interact with. You have 4 or 5 different cultures, different approaches to the game, and mixing with those people and talking about it, you learn a lot of stuff too.
I just want you to finish with maybe sharing with us, we know about your exploits in cricket, but for all the experiences you've had, as you say, travelling around the world, meeting different people from all different sorts of walks of life, are there 3 people or 3 moments that stand out as something that really helped you see the world differently?
Good question, Tracy. I have it. 3 people. I think a couple of my favourite moments in my life so far, outside of my children, because they're the best. But so in my sporting career, I think my favourite moment in cricket was the day I walked out here in the Sydney Cricket Ground, 1990, 91, or 91, 92. Bloody long time ago. And I walked out of the dressing room and I looked up on the scoreboard and it said, "Congratulations, Shane Warne, you're the 350th Test cricketer to play for Australia." And that was to think that you only had 350 people have ever played the game for Australia was pretty amazing. So that was probably a cricket thing. I've been lucky enough to meet some really interesting people through the game of cricket. One of the most interesting people I've met that's become, over 20 years, one of my best friends was a guy called Chris Martin, who's the lead singer at Coldplay. We met in a lift and we sort of said, "Are you?" And he went, and we went upstairs and hit it off straight away, and we've been mates for 20 years when he first started. So that world introduced me to a lot of different people in that world. Meeting all sorts of musicians and different people with him. So I've been very, very lucky to meet so many different interesting people. Bob Hawke. My mum had a cleaning business and was friends with Hazel Hawke. And when my brother and I think he was 5, I was 7, we used to clean Bob Hawke's house. And with my mum's cleaning business, I got to know Bob Hawke 40 odd years ago. He's a pretty cool guy and I thought was a wonderful Prime Minister too. So to clean the Prime Minister's house was pretty cool. All these beers and stubbies that used to be all over the floor, and watching him here in the Sydney Cricket Ground scull beers down in the corner with all the Richies over there was pretty amazing. But yeah, look, I'm as I said before, I'm very, very grateful and thankful for the life I've had so far. I'm very lucky to have 3 healthy children. I'm very happy with my life. I'm happy, and I long live the. I'm looking forward to what the future holds. Hopefully, I can win the World Series of Poker in Vegas in July.
Shane Warne, one thing we do have to thank you for, not just for being here tonight and being so giving of your time, but also through all of it, through thick and thin, through your career, off-field exploits as well. You have always kept it real. Thank you for being Shane Warne. Thank you for being so honest.
Thanks, Tracy, and thank you very much for having me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. What a terrific job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Shane. I'm sure you'll all agree with me. We've had a wonderful night with our special guest, Shane Warne. Thanks, mate. You said before that loyalty is one of your great traits, and it is.
Thank you.
We started talking in October about you coming here for this evening, and I know how full your diary is, daytime and nighttime. But you told me you would find a date, and you found a date. And we were prepared to wait because we wanted our inaugural dinner to be one of the best, and we wanted one of the best, and Shane is one of the best. And thank you, mate.
Nice.
I don't know what we give someone who's got pretty much everything he needs, but just a small token of our appreciation, mate. And I'm sure the Backtrack guys will be very pleased you're here as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. As I said before, privileged to be here. Well done to the Backtrack guys. It's awesome to listen to those boys talk before and to see them turning their lives around and inspiring other people to do the same thing. So well done to all of you guys. Well done to Greg, Ian and Trevor, the Chappell Foundation, everyone on the board for what's a wonderful cause. And I thank everyone for coming tonight and to playing our part to try and raise as much money as we can. It's a very worthwhile cause, and good luck in the future. And thanks again for having me. Tough.
Hello? Yep, okay, I'm just going to pass these mics to the boys because the guys from Backtrack wanted to come up and say a few words. There you go. It's on.
Yes, crazy turnout tonight. Just sitting there listening to Shane, telling several of your stories, all of them I just think, shit, that's us, Several nights we've sat there talking hours on end, not realising what time it is, we're not drinking or in changing rooms or part of fucking all-star team. We've got our own all-star team, but yeah, so everything yous are doing, that's what we do. The sense of belonging, that sense of generosity, helping a brother up when he's in need, that independence, being able to have a say, and that sense of belonging like everyone needs is just feeling a part of something bigger, and that's what yous are all doing tonight. Yous are helping us help a lot more young kids get that sense of belonging, make it somewhere in life, get out of the shithole that we're all living in, and actually do something with ourselves. And I just want to thank each and every one of yous, because even though you're eating, munching out, having a lovely feed, having a couple beers, yous are changing lives. Yous don't realise, but yous are saving lives. There's countless kids that would love to thank yous, and I'm just here to thank yous all on behalf of them and everyone who's organised it. It's a beautiful thing, and I'd love to thank yous all again.